Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Mustard Saves, and today we are going to be tackling the disaster that is my pantry. If you're new here, I rely heavily on my local food pantry to help take a chunk out of my monthly finances. And while I 100% appreciate the services that the food pantry provides, one of the little side effects of going to the food pantry is you end up with a lot of the same ingredients. You end up with kind of random ingredients that you would have never purchased for yourself. And you get a lot of stuff that kind of doesn't go together. And you do have to sometimes step in and still continue to purchase a few additional items to have everything come together. I've been going to my food pantry for a couple months now, and I have developed quite a stockpile of just like those little random individual items. There's only 2 people in my house, so we can only go through the food so quickly. And I've noticed we go through cycles of we have too many things in the freezer, we have too many things in the fridge, and then now we have too many things in our pantry. The fridge and freezer are pretty well cleaned through. And I don't have anything in my house right now that is a simple just heat and eat kind of meal. When you're working on a budget, a lot of times you trade money for time. And to keep myself out of the drive-through lines, I do a minimum of 3 different meals for meal prep on Sundays. So that way throughout the week, I can just throw something in the microwave for lunch. And then when I'm super tired coming home from work, I still don't have to cook. I still have the option of just heating something up and eating it right out of the refrigerator. So I'm going to go ahead and go through my pantry and pick out some things that I think that we will be able to make some nice meals out of. And I have my Plans for World Domination notebook here to help me write things down and get some ideas going. And I will see you guys at my counter once I have pulled everything out. Thanks to the power of movie magic, we have skipped forward in time, and here are my chosen fighters for this week. Do I feel like this spread has made a substantial dent in my pantry? Not necessarily. Is it a start? Yes. And when you're faced with a project that is kind of daunting, there's a lot going on in front of you, that's one of the best ways to get started, is to just start small, pick out a couple things to do out of it, and start hacking away at the problem a little at a time. I have this bag of brown rice pasta that was gifted to us when we were moving out, because back in my couponing heydays, I had so many jars of pasta sauce and not enough pasta to match it. So we had a lovely family member give us like a Costco-sized container of this brown rice pasta, and we still have some of it. It's delicious, but like I forget that we have it. So I'm going to go ahead and use up some of that. You can use any type of pasta you have. It does not have to be that one. And then over here, also from my couponing days, is a box of this Barilla red lentil rotini that I am not a fan of. It's good, it's fine, but I have had so many boxes of it because they were free or like less than 75 cents. Like I got these boxes for all kinds of deals when it first came out, and I'm down to my last 2 boxes. So after I eat this one, there will only be 1 more in my pantry. And maybe someday I will return to it and buy it again, but I'm so tired. I've been avoiding it for a while, but I need to get it out of my pantry so it can stop staring at me. And then the same sentiment with this turkey flavored stuffing mix. I got that for the Ibotta free Thanksgiving deal that they were doing. I make my stuffing from scratch, and I make it out of cornbread, so I've kind of just like been ignoring it in my pantry, but like I don't want it to go to waste. It's not expired or anything, but I want to use it. I need to get it out of my pantry, and I need to eat it. That's also the same time I got these French fried onions, but French fried onions are delicious. We've been putting them on top of like salads and stuff, so it's open, and for my idea it sounded really good to put it on top of what I'm going to be making. Mixed fruit mix makes up like the majority of the canned goods in my pantry. I mean, out of the total number of them, I'm sure they're outnumbered, but for ratio's sake, I have like 4 or 5 cans of mixed fruit in my pantry because I don't know what to do with them. But for today, I'm going to mix it with this Jello that I got on clearance at Kroger. So we're going to be making some fruit suspended in Jello. And then this spinach has also been staring at me in my pantry. I don't know what to do with it. The idea of canned spinach doesn't sit well with me, even though I know logistically it's just cooked spinach. So it looks the same as like spinach would if I tossed it in something to cook with. So we're just breaking all kinds of barriers today. As for the meals themselves, I have this pack of chili and these noodles because I'm going to be making chili noodles. I've seen so many people in my comments say that they serve chili on top of noodles, and this is such a strange concept to me. They say it's a southern thing. I don't know where in the southern region this is from. I live in Texas. I've never heard of this before in my life. But you know, I'm down to try it, so chili, noodles, easy peasy. For the red lentil pasta, it's going to be combined with the cream of mushroom soup, tuna, and spinach, and the can of peas to just make like a tuna noodle dish. And then we're going to be attempting to make a casserole with the turkey stuffing, the french fried onions, can of chicken, potatoes, and green beans. And probably a couple of odds and ends that I salvaged from my refrigerator. Over here on my stove, I have 2 pots of water getting ready to boil, and then I'm preheating my oven. So while that's all going, let me get my camera set up, and if you guys want to stick around, you can see how these meals turn out. For this first recipe, I really had to trust the process on this. I decided to go ahead and use some turkey broth that had been sitting in my freezer to go ahead and mix up the box stuffing mix. So I just used it in place of water and mixed it up according to package directions. And then I tossed in all of my canned ingredients, and I had a little bit of peppers and onions in my refrigerator, so I just decided to throw those in as well to give it a little bit more flavor. And then just a handful of cheese because I had it. And yeah, at this point I was really questioning my life choices because it looked terrible and it smelled good, but like, yeah, you can't tell me you look at that and you're like, yes, delicious. But I popped it in the oven and it came out kind of amazing. Like, I can't tell you how long it was in the oven for. I just put it in there at 375 until, I don't know, like the edges were bubbling and then the onions looked really crispy and I could smell the peppers because like technically everything that was in this was already cooked. Like I could have just eaten it then and there, but I decided to put it in the oven so I could get the cheese melted and then also get the onions nice and crispy on top. And here you can see me giving it a taste test, and then I even tried it with a little bit of Tabasco. And this was quite honestly probably the most, like, my most favorite thing that I made in this entire week's worth of meal prep. But in terms of the actual volume of food that it made, it wasn't really that much, so this only lasted us for like 2 meals. And while my water was boiling for the noodles, I decided to go ahead and steal some of that boiled water to mix up my packet of Jello. And when you're making Jello, my favorite life hack to get it to set quicker is when you're adding your cold water, go ahead and toss in some ice cubes so that way when you fill it up with water, it'll displace the volume of the ice cubes. And so even though the ice cubes don't fit nicely in the cup, the 1 cup measuring cup can only hold 1 cup. It is now the next day and my camera may or may not have died while I was waiting for this to set. And I also maybe forgot about the Jello, so it did get a little too set before I put the fruit in. So as you can see, the top of it is not very smooth at all. I should have put it in probably about 30 minutes before I actually did. And I ended up needing 2 cans of fruit because that amount of Jello was like significantly more than I usually make because it was like, I thought it was 2 individual packets inside 1 big box, but no, it was just 1 giant box and 1 giant package of Jello. But I promise this was like super easy to make, and if you are smarter than me, you could even only put half of this Jello in the fridge and then leave the other half on the counter so it doesn't cool down as fast. And then once the bottom part is mostly set or like pretty well set, add the fruit in and then cover it with the rest of your Jello. So that way you have the fruit in the middle kind of, and then you have a nice smooth top. Like, obviously I'm just going to be like scooping this into like on a plate or in a bowl or something to serve it, but if you want it nice and presentable, you could put it in like a sheet pan or like a baking pan of some kind, so that way it's like a nice layer and you can cut it into cubes like they do at hospitals and stuff. But yeah, nothing too exciting about this. I do know you can remelt Jello. Like, if you just heated this up, it would turn back to liquid and then you could try again, I guess. But like, just for household purposes, like, this is totally fine. And then next we have the lovely tuna noodle casserole. This is a casserole that I did not turn into a casserole because everything is warm, but basically the ingredients are a can of cream of mushroom soup, however much tuna you have, and then I've seen most recipes use fresh peas or like frozen peas, but I have so many cans of canned peas that I threw it in here because that's the whole point of this video, is me trying to use up my canned goods. And yeah, I didn't know how much of the spinach to add. I ended up adding the whole can by the end of it, and at first I was like, yeah, this is fine, like, it's not that bad, but I should not have added the whole can because once it sat in the refrigerator for a little bit, it did have a little bit of a tin can type of flavor. But without the canned spinach, I have made this before, and I really like this. You don't need any other seasonings, just the can of cream and mushroom soup is like good enough, and it's so ugly. Like, I don't understand how it tastes so good because it just doesn't look appetizing. Like, it looks like something you'd find from a recipe book from like the 30s or the 50s or something, like when they would throw Jello and everything. I don't know. It just, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you it's the most beautiful thing in the world, but sans the spinach, I will probably most definitely make this multiple times over the course of my utilization of the food pantry. Alrighty, and then for my final magic trick, I have about 3.5 cups of that pasta in here. Oh my goodness. I have never tried this chili before, so like, who knows? This, if this comes out bad, like, it might just be the chili, because like I said, I've never used this chili, and I'm sure people who love to eat chili and noodles probably use their favorite chili that they think tastes good. Upon first glance, I can't say that I'm very excited for this. The chili definitely just kind of looks like sauce. Like, it doesn't really have chunks of anything really going on for it. And I did cook my pasta a little underdone, so I guess I'm kind of glad that it's a little liquidy. So I'm gonna let this cook in here for probably about 5 minutes, and then we're gonna come back and taste it to see, you know, if it needs any seasoning. So far, I haven't needed to season anything, which I've been really surprised by. Everything has been like just fine on its own. So let's see if we are 3 for 3 on this week's meal prep and see how I like this chili and noodles. Alright, this chili noodle stuff has heated up a bit. I kind of feel like the noodles have absorbed a little bit of the sauce, so it's not quite as like swimming and liquidy in here as it was before. So let me go ahead and give this a taste to let you guys know how I feel about it. It kind of tastes like the chili that you buy that comes in a can that you would put on like a hot dog, which, I mean, like, that's fine. Alright, so I gave some to my partner to try, and he doesn't really seem too keen on the idea of throwing cilantro in here. But this is the only dish out of the 3 that I made that doesn't have anything green or anything vegetable related to it. So I'm going to put cilantro in there anyway to give it some green. I would say that was maybe like 1/4 cup of cilantro, like for the whole bowl. And then I'm also going to toss in probably like half a cup of cheese. Just because I still have like a good amount of this like giant bag of, I can't even get it in the camera because my camera zooms in so much, but this was originally a 2-pound bag of cheese that I got from my food pantry, and we are lactose intolerant, so we don't really go through it quickly. I mean, like, we eat it because even those who are lactose intolerant, like, who turns down free cheese? If I did this again, I would probably make like fries, because one of my food pantries gives me like at minimum 15 pounds of potatoes a month for like all the months that we've been going. So that could definitely be a use of the fries, but on noodles, I don't know, guys. I don't think this is the vibe. But like I said, this could just not be the right chili for it. Alright guys, I had zero expectation when going into this. I didn't know how quickly these were going to come together, and I didn't know what they were going to taste like when I was on the other side. I just sort of took out things from my pantry that I thought would be good together, and then kind of prayed that it would taste good. And honestly, I've outdone myself. Everything here is quite delicious. I would say my least favorite is this chili noodle thing right here, but like, this is delicious. This is definitely my favorite. And now that I've finished all of the meal prep, my partner came over and he got himself a plate and put a little bit of everything on his plate because he just wanted to have everything right now while it was fresh. So we're going to go ahead and sit down to eat however much of this we feel like eating, and then I'm going to come back in about 30 minutes to check on the Jello to see if it is set enough to put the fruit into it.